The children of Gaza are suffering. They have no food or medical supply. But you can help. Please open your heart and make a donation by clicking in the link below. Shukran and God bless you.
I cannot believe what we are brought on Gaza. Thank Allah that we are safe in the plaza. Have nothing left to eat, like a Ramadan retreat. I don't really give a shit, cause I'm hanging in my suite. Check out, we are dealing here with monsters. The room service wouldn't bring us lobsters. Call Maya Khalifa to play with us some FIFA. And tell her to dress up like she is a nursing chief. Dollar bills. My people have no water, wonder how it feels. Dollar bills. They have no gasoline, I just order when you will. Donate us money, my dog needs new Armani. Gaza sky is black, but Qatar is always sunny. Knocking on the door, fuck it's the Mossad. Chill ya baba, I just ordered sushi avocado. Dollar bills. Mash'al is so straight, he just got himself new grills. Dollar bills. Put some Netflix on, I don't want to see the kids. Donate us money, my dog needs new Armani. Gaza skies is bright, but Qatar is always sunny. You just give me money, life is pretty funny. Gaza skies is bright, but Qatar is always sunny.
Cry harder.
We need more money.
People of the world,
I remember seeing that and I was like, this can't be real, right? It can't be real. It can't be real that these terrorist bastards are living it up in like 5-star hotels and suites in Qatar, all right? A friend of America, right? A partner in the United Nations and all that jazz, right? But check this out, right? And this is like just from 2 days old, but I only heard it today because it was shared today. And so let me bring it up. I just got to make sure I'm on the right one here because I got some more crazy videos. Like seriously, I've had a really crazy couple of days because I wanted to put this on later. I was like, the moment I heard, I was like, I got to, and I was like, no, calm down, bro. I know my temperament. Whenever I see injustice, whenever I feel things that I feel is wrong in the world, or something's happened, I get really knotted up inside, right? And I'm like, and I'm like, no, chill, relax. You can't behave that way because you'll say shit that's gonna upset people, and you're gonna be, it's better just control yourself, right? So now I want to show you what actually the truth about Qatar, right? I'm just going to lay down the tracks here. So I'm going to make sure that I've got the right video, but I've got a whole bunch of videos set up. And there it is. Is that it? That's it. So here we go. This is actually news, right? This is actually news. So, right. So let me make sure I've got that all set up for you guys. Right, here we go. This is actual news, not some commentary or some, YouTube channel. But this is actual news. So let's do this.
The Qatari flag
In more than a year of war between Israel and Hamas, it was shown to illustrate repeated talks for a ceasefire and for the release of the hostages. Doha played a key role, talking directly to all parties and countries. Qatar hosts the leaders of Hamas, which the US, European countries, and Israel list as a terrorist organization. It's also home to the largest US base in the Middle East.
Qatar has positioned itself after the Arab Spring as a mediator and a hub for basically building networks, connecting different actors that would not be able to meet directly.
After October 7th, the hope was that Qatar's unique position would allow it to have more leverage to clinch a deal. And that worked for a truce in the first weeks of the war.
In this particular instance, I want to thank the government of Qatar for their very important assistance.
But 1 year on, this bold strategy fails to bring new results. While the Israeli prime minister has been accused by protesters of torpedoing mediators' efforts to reach a deal, Hamas is also accused of rejecting a ceasefire, including the most recent one brought by Egypt. That is why Washington has called on Qatar to threaten expelling Hamas leaders to pressure them into a deal. And according to CNN, several days ago, Qatar has decided to expel the group. The move has been in discussion for months. Doha has had a unique position also due to the aid it has sent Gaza and because for years it funded Hamas, which controlled the Palestinian enclave.
Apologies, I muted myself. So you heard that, right? Basically, they were sending aid to Gaza, and they were sending there's about like over $1 billion to the terrorists. And then also they're friends with America, democracy, peace loving and all that. And then also they're trying to broker peace. Now, on top of that, here's the thing, right? The reason I started actually be outspoken, because I wasn't that outspoken for the last few years, because I know what's wrong and I know what's right? That's kind of my whole thing, is to do research, right? My whole thing as a writer, as a speculative fiction writer, is to research, make sure I'm hearing lots of different voices, commentators, news. I don't just listen to one news, right? I got to make sure that I'm looking at a whole lot of different things. So I get a lot of balance. So out of that, I can work out what's what, right? And I recommend everyone do that. That's a good way to live, right? Question everything. I remember in 2000, was it 2001? Yeah, it was 2001, right? After 9/11, I remember I had a really cool American media studies teacher. I was doing a film degree. I've got my degree sitting up there, digital filmmaking. Like I can, basically make a film, and I did, and a whole bunch of short films. But I decided to comics because I had a car accident, which meant I can't stand up for long periods of times, because that means the next day I don't even know if I'm going to be able to stand up. Anyway, so she basically got me thinking about all these things, like the world, right? Like, is, what we see in the media, because we're talking about documentaries and stuff, like every person that's making a documentary has their own narrative. So you can't just you just can't watch a documentary without understanding the person who's making it, because somebody's always going to try to lean one way or the other way, or it's going to be center, right? So I myself lean center left, because I like my liberal nuances. I find myself I'm liberal to a certain degree, but I'm not crazy. Well, I hope I'm not crazy. I hope that doesn't come across that I'm a loony bin, but also to have a bit of common sense about things. And so I at that time, because it's very, when you're studying media, what is in the news, what are they saying, Why are they saying what they're saying? What are the journalists saying? How are they, are they leaving their biases out or not? Now, even as a writer, sometimes I have to check myself and go, okay, yeah, you need to pull back because you're leaning this way or that way too far, because people want to get entertained, right? That's the reason for writing stories. It's like, because I'm not writing a documentary and I'm not writing nonfiction, right? I'm not writing real life. I'm writing stories to entertain. However, you find that a lot of times people tend to give their own biases. News becomes an opinion piece, right? Where they just sit there and tell you this is their own opinion about it. And so that's why I suggest, please look at various media out there, right? Don't just stick to one or two channels and that's your favorite. You always pick that person to watch at that time, right? This is why I love the internet. I have so many people to choose to listen to, right? Or I can just ignore them, right? Or I can, watch like hour-long documentaries, 2-hour-long documentaries while I'm working on my comics, while I'm writing. I can look across while I'm editing. Oh yeah, listen, watch, whatever. Because it means that there's a lot, and like something that I should mention, yesterday, Culture Casino, he's a really cool pop culture commentator, but also talks about news and stuff and does his commentary. He made he did this whole like intro to his live stream yesterday. I kind of caught the end, and then I was supposed to watch the start. I watched about a couple of minutes for the start, but he said, we are the media now, right? So if we like in the YouTube scene, whatever are the media now, so-called new media, because that's what we were talking about 20 years ago, or this is a new media. Internet is a new media. YouTubing is a new media. And now we are the media kind of thing. So, I'm going to play a whole bunch of videos. I'm not going to just give you one video and go, this is what it is. Right, because it means that you get to see different viewpoints from different people, apart from just me touting off, and which I should get back to very quickly. But I just wanted to say that because, like, I remember the reason, going back to my point again, what I was trying to make at the start was that up till about maybe 3 months ago, maybe less, I was just chill, right? I'm like, I'm not going to worry about people, pro-Palestinian or what this. I'm not going to argue with people. I'm not going to put posts out. I'm just going to chill. And then I got a call from Amnesty International New Zealand. And I thought, hey, okay, cool. Okay. Because I always like to donate if I can donate, if I have the money in my pocket, right? And so the guy on there, like I can tell he's about 30 years old, mid-30s, because I'm 51. So I can tell when someone's a bit younger, voice-wise, and the way they speak, nuances and all that. I thought, okay. All right. So he goes, oh, have you heard about what's happening in Gaza? And I go, no, I'm not really, yeah, but I'm not really, in tune. And I thought, I need to see what this guy's about and just pretend like I don't know. Because I want to see what he's on about before I jump in and give my opinion or actually start giving money away, right? And he starts going off about all this anti-Israel thing, or they're doing this. And I'm like, hold on. In this time, you haven't mentioned the fact that terrorists went across, kidnapped people, murdered people, killed families, took their bodies away, tortured them, are still being held hostage. And this is women, children, elderly, man, young, from a music festival. If you guys know me, I love music. Music and art is, it's been my jam forever. I used to fall asleep to music because I've been through, when I was young, I was like, I went through some very terrible stuff, right? And so I couldn't sleep at night, right? Through my teenage years, right? I just couldn't. So I'd have headphones on and play metal all night and just fall asleep to that so that I could actually sleep. So, so I'm thinking, I think I just lost my train of thought, but like, so I'm listening to this guy anyway, right? And he's telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, how can you be that callous about the truth? I've watched the truth, and I have kept neutral because I just I don't want to get into scraps with people, right? I don't want to like argue the points. And then I started noticing certain friends of mine, right? Because this is on Facebook. They're putting out so much anti-Israel, anti-Jewish things. And I was like, how can they feel that way, right? And I'm like, how can you not see the truth? And all you're doing is like painting every Jewish person as terrible, yet, oh yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Music, right? And how important music is. These young people were just enjoying their life. They were just at a music festival, not harming anybody. And they're just like gone, man. And not to mention all the terrible stuff that was done to them, right? And all filmed for everybody in the world to enjoy. You know, send back to your Muslim brotherhoods around the world. Look, cheer for them. And not only that, all the Western white people, all the leftist people, and all those who hate, you know, who think that black people cannot do anything wrong. That what is that? There's this typical term that you know, Europeans, white people use. It's like something savage, something savage, right? It's like, you know, they glorify the skin, right? The dark skin, or the culture, ethnicity. They think that, you know, the guilt settles in because yes, these people deserve that because they're there. And then they realize these people also are very leftist, and amongst them are some LGBT people. And yet they could not exist in Gaza, in Islamist countries, in the Middle East, because they'll either be thrown off roofs, and it's been shown. Yet Israel, you can live in Israel and have that happen, right? You could like live your life. You can have whatever, you know, you could be queer, gay, trans, whatever, lesbian, and you could live your life. I saw a little thing from Sweden this morning, and it was a guy standing with a queer guy. Actually, sorry, he was trans, right? White Swedish dude, European, right? He's standing there and on the mic is saying, in Gaza, in Palestine, in Muslim countries, I would be killed. So I think I just couldn't understand that these same people who are very liberal could do the terrible things and support the you know, go out in the streets and support these terrible things. And you can see all the, you know, all the flag waving, all the thing, wearing the, you know, the white and black thing that they, you know, scarves and all that, promoting. And of course, that troll, you know, that climate troll, Greta Thunberg's amongst there now. Now Palestine is her new thing. I remember arguing about, you know, talking to my niece and nephews a couple of years about my sister's family a couple years ago when she came out when she was about 15, 16. And I said to my young ones, and you know, I said, listen, this is not who you want to be like. This is a young person with no education, with no insight into what the world is like, telling adults how the world is and what they should do without any understanding that if you stop using oil, people will freeze in certain areas of the world, right? If they don't have power, that they will die, especially the elderly, right? Because they need that. I mean, we saw that during the, you know, 3 years of COVID. So I don't know, man. Like, it just made me crazy, dude. Like, I was just like crazy. I was like, how? But I kept my mouth shut until this amnesty thing, and I'm like, and this guy's telling me all these terrible things that Israel's done, and I'm like, do you know? Imagine living next to somebody, and for 70 years, they don't want peace. 70 years, right? All you know, you're like, the place is to be peaceful, and then suddenly all these people come in and make, you know, and terrorists build like crazy thing, right? We just got shown underground tunnels underneath cemeteries, underneath homes, underneath you know, hospitals and stuff, and people still go, show me the evidence, this is wrong. Israel just saying it's there. Oh, and the other day there's a whole 45 minutes of video released about the secret torture bunker that Hamas has. Was it Hamas or Hezbollah? I think it was Hamas that had, right? One of them, right? That they found, and the videos were there recording these Gazans, right? Remember, Gazans, Palestinians being tortured by Hamas. Like 4-year-old man, 30-year-old man, right? From about, the videos that they had was from 2018 to 2020, right? I think it was maybe 2022. You can find it. It's you know, other people have been talking about it, but I want to show that. So it's crazy that, like, you know, that we would come to a point where we call white black and black white, and in the sense that we'd call evil good and good evil, right? Not about skin color, right? But I think it's crazy where we've gotten to, where we have allowed ourselves to be like that. And so, before we move to this one, I want to play a little video from early this morning, right? That I came across, and it just seems like it's let's get to this one. And this is from like, what was it, like about 40 minutes ago? Yeah. So here, you know, going back to the how, like, you know, you got your neighbor, you got Lebanon, northern Lebanon, and then you've got, you know, Gaza, Palestine, whatever, and they're shooting rockets at you. None of us who have never lived in Israel understand that, right? What it's like to live with people you call your neighbors, or who have been living with you across from you for 17 years, who basically all they want to do is wipe you off the face of the earth. And if you read the Quran, or if you hear people who actually read it, you can see that it's a holy thing to wipe out Jews, right? It mentions, like, it talks a lot about Jews because it's kind of based on Judaism, of the Torah, right, on Talmud, and so on, what we call the Old Testament, right? But it's not really. It's basically, you know, whatever it is. It's not. It's just a book of violence, right? There's some crazy. I've been trying to get myself wise about it. It's just something that, like, you know, I just didn't think about. But because of what's been going on, I've, you know, looked into listening to people talk about it, hearing the text, reading the text, and so on, and seeing what's going on. But because when I was like, this is about 2020, no, 2007. Yeah, I used to work at a furniture, like I know what you guys call in America, Target. Here we call Harvey Norman, right? It's an Australian brand. It's got like electrical center. It's got beddings, furniture, you know, computers, the whole sort of like that, indoor, outdoor furniture, that sort of thing. So I had an Iranian 20-year-old, mid-20-year-old, 22, 23, working with me. And here I am, like, this is like about, what, 20 years ago, just under 20 years ago. So I was about 35, something like that. He said, what shocked me, I never known an Iranian before. This is the first time. And I worked with him for maybe about 8 months or something, because that's the last job I had full time, working for someone else, because after, you know, halfway that year, I basically got into a car accident. And so I had to be, you know, I had to come off work because I couldn't stand anymore. And so anyway, so he tells me this, and I was shocked the hell out of me. Like, seriously, dude. I was like, what? Right? Sorry. I said, I was like, he said to me, he said, like, I must kill a Jew before I die. I was like, what do you mean? It's like, because I don't know, there was this hatred towards, you know, Iranians. They'd been indoctrinated so much because of the Ayatollah, and there's a whole history with America, and, you know, and how they got rid of the king because the king was going to make the people rich. You know, the political state establishment at that time, you know, basically found that like the country was going to become like a superpower, and a democratically elected superpower. You know, and I think it was 1970. I think it's going up to 40. Must be 1980. Yeah, because I said it was 40 years. So basically, the deal was that, like, you know, and by the way, please watch if you can, the Prince. You know, his father was a king at that time. The Prince recently put out a little like a 12-minute video, you know, saying that we need to get rid of the, you know, the, what is it, like the government that's there, right? The Islamist government that's basically took over, thanks to you know, that government that was in power when America was around. You know, that government in 1980 when put that into power. It's like this whole mess, bro. Anyway, so it was yeah, it's like understanding that, you can see why, like, the Iranian people used to be so free, and just like they were basically Westerners. They love traveling everywhere. They were becoming very rich, right? You wouldn't, like, when you see it today, you wouldn't, you know, you wouldn't even recognize it. Is that what they were like? That's like, that was like New Zealand, right? It was like New Zealand in the 80s. That was what they were like. It's like Australia. I was looking, it's like New Zealand, and now it looks like a friggin', you know, it just looks so, just something else, you know, what we call like a monstrosity of itself, right? And it's quite sad, and you can see how easily something can get twisted, you know, and that's why people they don't want outside, like the actual Iranians do not want help from the West to get rid of the Ayatollah and his, you know, terrorist government and people and politicians, right? Because they want to do it themselves, and they should, because that way at least they get to choose who they want in power, not somebody in the West choosing. And that's why, you know, they support Israel, they support the prince, right? Because they want their prince back to rule them, so that he can be there as an overseer. I mean, like a head of state, right? Like they have in England, right? With Charles and all them, and of course Queen Elizabeth just prior. And so with him there, then they could choose their president, they could choose prime ministers, senators, or whatever they want to choose, right? Ministers of parliament, and so on. And yet at least they'll have someone who's there, and the royal line can continue and whatever, right? So they'll be like a royal family again, and they'll be able to go back to how things were. And then they could sell their oil to everybody. Then they're rich. They could become rich again, right? And so they won't have some outside interest, some, you know, what they call the fifth state or third state, or the, you know, entity out there trying to, you know, have their fingers, right, the Hydra and in there, you know, the octopus, whatever, like from outside, trying to get their fingers in there. And because that always never works. Like, you look at what happened in, you know, in Afghanistan and Iraq, right? When you have an outside taking over and trying to tell the people how it should be, it never really works. What you need the community itself to decide what they want and what they choose. And it's like I think it's about 60 to 70% are actually not the ruling religion or the sect, because there's Shia and there's Sunni, and I always get confused between the two. I think it's Shia that is like the extremist side, right? Because in Hinduism, right, my people's religion, I'm not actually religious. There's two there as well, right? Just like in Catholic and Protestant, right? So you have two different things in Christianity. And then, of course, you have all the other different little sects and, fundamentalists, Protestants, Methodists, Presbyterians, and all that. And so, same thing. Now, before I yabber on, let's have a look at this video. So this is from a channel called the Israel guys, right? So he's talking about from just today.
Of Israel. I cannot believe I have to keep reporting about this, but yes, Hezbollah is still firing rockets into Israel on a daily basis. Yesterday afternoon, 15 rockets were fired from Hezbollah, and one rocket injured 3 Israelis in Western Galilee. These were Arab Israelis who were injured. And then yesterday morning, a direct hit from a rocket destroyed a dining hall. On Saturday, over 70 rockets and projectiles were fired into Israel. A drone from Iraq was shot down by Israel. And then last night, they shot down 4 more drones.
So, from Iraq, right? Remember where they were like, what was like America was there for 20 years, right? It's gone back to what it was like. So all that money under Obama, under I guess Biden made a huge muck up in Afghanistan, wasn't it? Or was it Iraq? Always, bungle that exit. But anyway.
Drones from Iraq. On Saturday night, the U.S. and the U.K. together struck Houthi facilities inside of Yemen. A U.S. defense official said that the U.S. Central Command Forces, quote, conducted multiple airstrikes on numerous Iran-backed Houthi weapons storage facilities within Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen. The targets contained various advanced conventional weapons. Used to target military and civilian vessels navigating international waters through the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. Also, the Houthis attempted to fire a ballistic missile into Israel this morning.
Apologies, guys. I just realized I got to stop muting myself because I forget to put it back on. So what I was saying was like, we are reliant on oil. However, the uptick will be that like we can have lithium batteries for storing power from what is called electricity, but like also from like solar, right? And so there's those 3 things that we can have to get our power from. But the problem is that if we don't have power, electricity, right, that means that we can't shop with if we go and the FPOS goes down, we can't shop. If we are out of, say like mobile phones, right? If we're out of power to charge them for a couple of days, we're lost, really. Without power, we're lost. So, like, the hydro dams and all that, right? The water dams. I think we probably need to build more of those. I just don't know how we can, with energy, I'm not that smart, right? I'm not a techie person. I always say to people, I'm a geek, not a nerd. So I'll leave it at that. But there are a lot of smarter people and smarter channels who talk about that. So please check them out.
Thank God it was intercepted before it even entered Israeli airspace. So nice try. All of this is happening while a report just came out that there's been significant progress made in ceasefire talks with Lebanon. A senior Israeli diplomatic official told Israel Hayom on Saturday that there had been a significant breakthrough in efforts to achieve a diplomatic settlement between Israel and Lebanon's Hezbollah. This person said that the proposed agreement is highly advantageous to Israel's strategic interests, describing the progress as, quote, very substantial. I got this from JNS. They said that a second high-level government source, while confirming the positive developments, cautioned that final agreements remain pending. The source indicated that Israel's diplomatic strategy aims to ease pressure from the Biden administration during the transition period leading up to President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration. The official emphasized that the Israel Defense Forces will retain operational freedom to respond to any security threats from across the northern border, regardless of any diplomatic arrangements or paper agreements. So basically what they're saying is that, like, no matter what it says in the ceasefire deal, no matter what they agree to, the IDF will still have the ability to respond to terror, to security threats, even go into Lebanon if they need to. Israel's Channel 12 News reported on Sunday that Israeli Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer is scheduled to fly to Washington to finalize ceasefire arrangements. I guess we'll see what comes of these ceasefire talks in the coming days. There's been a lot, so I'm not super.
So there's always talks of ceasefire. It's one of those things like, how do you try to like live at peace with Batman? What I like to call the death cult. People who are part of a death cult. How do you live at peace with people who are part of a death cult? Right? Because, like I said, that dude basically said, and this is Iran, like from Iran, who part of that friggin' crazy, I must kill a Jew before I die. That thing, right? How do you try to get a ceasefire from them? What, in 3 years, when they've like got a couple more $1 billion of aid and shoved into, Hezbollah and Hamas, and they built it all up, and then they go back, and now they come back and fly across and all this stuff and do it again? How do you trust someone like that, right? Because, like I said, the neighbors are there, right? And they don't want to live at peace. There is nothing, there are like Palestinians. There are some that will do, but then of course there's all these 70 years of indoctrination. Every generation gets indoctrinated that those are your enemies because your Quran tells you that. It's a religious jihad, right? It's like a holy war because that's what the book tells you. That those people are evil and they are worse than dogs. And one day you will own the Jews. One day you'll be given, at the end of time, you'll be given Jews and Christians as your own to do with what you want. One of the weirdest things is to see the rise of anti-Semitism with boldness because of the last year, all across the world, right? You got protests all across the world, not like, hey, we care about Palestinians. Please make sure that Israel isn't out there, willy-nilly slaughtering innocent people. And if you watch, like, there's more, like, they've said, like, there was like 280 resolutions against, against Israel. That's more than any other country in that. All the countries combined against, that's more resolutions than the entire world combined. These things are that Israel can't do, right? And because those things are there, these United Nations, I don't even know why United Nations exists. I really don't. I think it should be just, hopefully it's just somebody would decide, hey, we're not going to fund this crap anymore, right? Because it does nothing. It's like you get a whole lot of people around there and they will have their own self-interest. You have like, oh, that guy's from Iran and that guy's, from China, and yet they all are in it for themselves. They don't want peace. They don't want to work with anybody else. They just want to like dictate their own things. So how do you like I said earlier, right? Qatar's going, oh, we're the mediators, but I'm going to send you $1 billion to the terrorist organization, while I'm talking with America, trying to basically break a peace between such, Israel and Hamas. But I'm going to send $1 billion to Hamas, to a terrorist organization. That just doesn't make sense. This is what makes me want to pull my hair out, but I've hardly got any hair anyway, so I'm bored. But it makes a person go crazy, like trying to work out all this crazy stuff. But then in the last year or so, it's given, because of all this hatred and anti-Semitism that goes all the way back to World War II, right? That you can basically, Europe goes, oh, never again, we'll never let this happen to the Jews ever again. This is a shame. This is our guilt, that we must wipe off our, off our backs, of ourselves, of our country, the stain of, such terror that we allowed to happen across our nations, right, across Europe. That we put all these people, we allowed these people to be put onto trains. We marked them with the Star of David. We hunted them down. We put them in, we took all their riches, and then we took everything that they had, and then we put them with their clothes on the back onto trains like cattle, and we sent them off across to camps, and then we let them get, turned into ash. I guess that's an easier, more user-friendly way of saying it, especially online, right? And so because of that, you've got monuments, you've got museums, you've got, memorial days, you got, you got history books, you got documentaries, right? I just gave a whole bunch of my little nephew. He's not so little anymore, but like he's into army stuff and about learning about the past. I used to be like that, and I still am. I guess that's research, right? Anything like I'm of the mind that if a young kid is interested in anything, that's gonna like knowledge and stuff, or art, music, I will make sure that I can, if I'm able to, I will try to provide the resources for them to learn more. So I was able to pick up these almost brand new books, because like about, oh gosh, they were quite big, about 30 about 30 centimeters, about 40 centimeters hardcover, man. Like about 5 or 6 of them, like would each kind of area of like Japan War, into that World War II, and then America's War, Hawaii, of course Europe, and then Nazi Germany and all that stuff, right? And I said to him, I've got it. And you know how I got it? I got it for free. Because I went, because the library was just like, it was just there. Somebody had either handed it up there for someone to have, or it was maybe in the reference or something, but it was just there. And I'm like, this is awesome. they're like about 10 kgs, and I had to carry that stuff. And I'm, because of my back, I'm like, it's not easy feat for me to, to lug that around. But lucky I had my granny trolley. You guys have seen a granny trolley, right? You have two little wheels, and you have a bag, and then you have a handle, and you pull it alongside you. That's what I go into town with every time I go shopping, because I can't carry anything on my back anymore. And plus, it's one day and I go do all my shopping. And so check this book. Otherwise I wouldn't have never brought this home, and somebody else would have got them. And so I was able to give it to my nephew a couple of weeks ago. And I said, here, man, like, because you're into this, and he can educate himself, right? Because he's around about 13, 14 now. And, we have all these evidence of what's happened. And yet I can't understand people's mentality that then they can turn around, because none of these people have actually faced difficulties in their life. They've never seen war. They've never lost anybody in war. Like, my mom got married to an English dude when I was like about 7 or 8. And so his father, right, actually fought in World War II. And he got frostbite because he was a minesweeper. So those boats that go on and they go like, break through the ice, and then in the English Channel between Russia and so on, and England, and so that the Allied ships could go through, supply ships could go through, and you have a broom handle, and you basically have to push the basically that's where the minesweeper comes from, right? The game. You basically, so on, and you have to push it away so that you're not actually bumping into those little spiky things, because it's basically what they are. The Germans, Nazi Germany used to put out, but there's little spikes on those, and so if you bump those spikes, because they just float, it blows up, and you end up with a hole in your hull of the boat, right? And your ships and your Navy vessels, right? And those ships get sunk. So that was his duty, right? So while my dad was like about 8 or something, maybe even younger, I think, his father was out fighting war. And so for World War II, it's not something for me. I mean, I remember Dad having all this World War II stuff, like magazines and at home. So that was like, I was surrounded by that all the time. I'd see the pictures, and then like around about when I was about 14, 13, I learned about that in social study class, about World War II at school, kind of like middle school. I think, I'm not sure what age group that is for America or the rest of the world, but for me, I think it was about like 13, 14. And, we got taught those things at school. This is what happened. I don't know if anybody, these people have actually learned that growing up in their school, or if they've actually wanted to know knowledge because they were out there supporting terrorism, that they're hating the people that were almost wiped out. Like a whole race of people were almost wiped out because of racism, like what we call now ethnic cleansing, right? And it's just so sad to hear. And now, right now, I'm getting to the POGROM thing. So I'm gonna put up what POGROM is, right? Because I'm not that smart. So I had to look up the word because it was being shared online. So I was like, okay, I'm using Wiki because it's there. In the old days, I would I'd go and pick up a friggin' an encyclopedia, right, or Encarta. Like Encarta was for those of you guys who are like Gen Z, Gen Z, right? Zoomers, and maybe Y. Encarta was like, you had like very expensive, like probably about, gosh, it was like encyclopedia, all the encyclopedias on a disc, right? So you had your CD-ROMs, and you had all your pictures and stuff, like but nobody really has them anymore because data always that's why it's important to have physical media, because but I would like to get one. Maybe because we have the internet now, you can like with the finger, you can type in a couple things and you got access to all this stuff. So anyway, what is a pogrom, right? Now, a pogrom is a violent, let me go in deeper, closer, so zoom in a bit more so you guys can see the words. Oop, too much. Let's go with this. Let me just check, see if the screen's there. Yeah, all right. By the way, if you guys are watching on Facebook or on Twitter, sub to me on Twitter or whatever what's a follow, right? Also, if you're watching me on YouTube, please sub to this channel. I'm kind of like going in a different way with this this channel, Plungecast. It's going to be more like this. It's going to like looking at topics like that I've watched, like things that interest me that week. Also shouting out to which I should have done, like other channels that I use the material of, because I think it's important that if I'm using anybody's material, that I actually share the material. So I'm going to and not only that, because that means that you guys can so this is earlier stuff from the France TV thing. Videos that you guys could have yeah, that's the other thing, that you can actually have a reference, right? Like in the book, right? You got like bibliography, right? Yeah, the back you can look and go, oh, this is where that's from, and then you can go and have a look for yourself. As all right, what's the rest of that? What's being said there, right? And that's because sometimes I won't play all the videos because I don't want to like take content away from other people, because I think you can watch the rest of them on their channel, because I'll play a clip from it, but then you guys can go and support their channel, check out the entire video yourself, because I don't want to be the narrator, right? I'm sorry, I don't want to be the narrative giving my own bias. I want you to go watch that channel and check out what they're saying, rather than me like going, this is how TV should do watching. But yeah, so pogrom, I'll go zoom in a bit more. 75? I think 75 should do it. Or was it 175? Yeah. Let me see if I go to a side. That might be better. There we go. That's better. Okay. Excuse me. All right. A pogrom is a violent riot incited with the aim of massacring or expelling an ethnic or religious group, particularly Jews, right? The term entered the English language from Russia to describe 19th and 20th century attacks on Jews in the Russian Empire, mostly within the Pale of Settlement, right? So what is the Pale of Settlement? The Pale of Settlement was a western region of the Russian Empire with varying borders that existed. Let me go up there, but it existed from 1791 to 1917, World War One, right? It was 1915, 1916 was World War One, in which permanent residency by Jews was allowed, and beyond which Jewish residency, permanent or temporary, was mostly forbidden, right? So you had these people that lived in Russia, in this region, right? That basically had been living there for centuries or hundreds of years, because under, I think it was Tiberius, Roman Emperor Tiberius, or Titus, I think it was Tiberius. He basically expelled the Jews from Israel, right? Their native home, right? Their country, their state. They were there. That was them way back when, right? And salted the earth. Basically put salt on it so nothing could grow there for decades, if I remember right. I'm just trying to recollect my memory. Like, I've had about 7 or 8 head injuries over the years, and so it makes it difficult to remember certain things sometimes. So basically he salted the earth, right? And I think this had to do with the Maccabees, because there was this uprising against them, and so basically, boom, he's like, yep, we're going to get you out of here, we're going to salt it so it's useless, right? It's like basically pouring oil. I mean, salt, salt is just like salinates the ground. Nothing can grow, nothing can live on it, no insects, nothing like that. Like you try putting some salt on the ground on a piece of dirt and watch. It's like nothing will grow there. And so that's what he did, right? So Jews basically couldn't live there for centuries. So that's how they went into the rest of the world. And so they're in Russia, and Russia tells them, they've been there for, hundreds of years. Now, oh, sorry, yeah, you can't live here anymore, right? So there was, whether they were recently moved there or had been there forever, they were forbidden to live there anymore. So that's where so they're basically chased out and they were attacked, right? Now, respectively, similar attacks against Jews, which occurred in other times and places, also became known as pogroms. Sometimes the word is used to describe publicly sanctioned purgative. Okay, I am going to look for the meaning of that word. Purgative. Purgative? All right, so purgative means tending to cleanse or purge. I should have figured that out. Purgative, right? Purging. Meaning tending to cleanse or purge, especially causing evacuation of the house, right? Basically, flushing it out, right? Having the power or quantity of purging. Was it quality of purging? Right? Basically expelling, right? Cleaning, purging them out. You've all basically heard of or seen the purge, right? You know what happens in the purge, right? So think of that. For one day, yeah, you can just go out and, do stuff. And sadly, we'll soon find out that's happening in Europe. Now, where was I? Purged it. All right. Sometimes the word is used to describe publicly sanctioned purging attacks against non-Jewish groups. The characteristics of a pogrom vary widely depending on the specific incident, or at times leading to or culminating in massacres. Right. I remember this from, remember that as well from my history lessons. Don't remember that Kishinev. Right. I'm going to have to go a bit lower here, maybe about 150, right? I'll zoom out a bit so I can get to these words. Significant pogroms in the Russian Empire, right, included the Odessa pogroms. So you can see this one, a series of in the city of Odessa, Ukraine, and then part of the Russian Empire took place during the 19th and early 20th centuries. That occurred in 1821, 1859, 1871, 1881, and 1905. This kind of reminds me of like how people, like black people, always say that we're the only people who are like mistreated. And I'm talking about the Black American people. That we're the only people who were mistreated, right? Or we were the only slaved, right? No, you weren't. You were the last people. But right now in Libya, there are Black Africans enslaved. There are Bangladeshis in Arab Emirates enslaved, working as servants. Really terrible indentured labor kind of situations. They take their passport on them and they treat it as chattel. This guy tried to run this guy over because he touched this guy's car accidentally. Right? Because you have no rights there. Also, China. Human slavery in China. Right? Woman being stolen, children being stolen, kidnapped, and then this woman was tied to the back of the house in a shed to produce children. She was chained. And so there are, people think, oh yeah, slavery really ended. Not really, just changed, became underground. A lot of times sexual slavery is all that, it's very common. Now, so that was Odessa, Warsaw, 1881, right? Wait, why didn't, oh yeah, so that came up, but that didn't come up. Oh, here we go. Right, so it took place in Russian-controlled Warsaw on 25th to 27 December 1881, and part of Congress, Poland, right? So that's around, yeah, well, I was like, what do you mean Russia? Poland, right? Warsaw, Poland. Resulting in 2 dead and 24 injured. So that was like just over 3 days, right? That's what we, like the numbers are there of what we know is how many people were too afraid to say anything, all right? Or how many people just disappeared and nobody knew about it because maybe they didn't have any family members. Kishinev pogrom, right? So this was Kishinev pogrom or Kishinev. I was trying to figure out how to say that. Or Kishinev, Kishinev. Trying to do the Russian accent, right? Massacre was an anti-Jewish riot that took place in Kishinev, then the capital of Bessarabia, governed in the Russian Empire on 19th to 21. So that's 3 days in April, right? OS 68. Is it the old Russian calendar system? Maybe 1903. What was that, like 120 years ago? Yeah. 121 years ago. Some could, I was just thinking like somebody could still be alive from that was born in that time, right? Because, there are some people that live that long. During the pogrom, which was on Easter, on Easter Day, 49 Jews were killed, 92 were injured. A number, actually, a number. Yeah, 92 were gravely injured. A number of Jewish women was raped. Right? You kind of go like a number. What is a number? And then you look at how many homes would like, because then you go, well, a lot of women, because if you're killing, you're not going to really think about, stopping, because killing is the last resort, right? Because that's just anything up towards that. What am I'm trying to say it in a way that like I don't sound callous. Like what I'm trying to say is that like death is the final thing, right? And all the things between just beating somebody you want into there, that's sort of like, I'm not even going to try it, but hopefully you guys understand what I'm trying to say. That because grape is a form of terror, right? Is an act of terror. Because that's why we abhor it so much. That's why we abhor sexual crime so much, because it's just, yeah. That's what really incensed me about the whole thing in October 7th last year, right? That all the things and all that and everything else, but that, right? They had the audacity And I'm thinking like they would have taped it for themselves for later to watch, right? These are animals, right? Those people that did that thing on this, I'm saying a thing because, that basically, did all these things because look, right? Same thing happened 120 years ago. All right, just think about it. It was 93, 2023, right? So here we go. I'm gonna go off there because it's going to drive me nuts. All right, I'll get too emotional. So over 500 were lightly injured, and 1,500 homes were damaged. American Jews began large-scale organized financial help and assisted in immigration, right? Because they finally realized that, like, you can't be spread out. Come back to your home, right? Like, basically, and this, we'll get to that, right? Because this is what happened after all these things happened to them around the world, in Russia, in Germany, in Europe. They made, they decided that we need to return home. But we can't just return home because we're all spread out. And so it's taken, a lot of effort. And there was anyway, you guys can look into that more, man. I suggest looking into this. Like, I don't want to like give you, what my thoughts are on this. Just do research yourself. That's one thing I really appreciate when people do research. I don't like people who talk about things and they don't know. But I do know a little about a lot of things. But the problem is I knew more, but my head injuries has made me forget a lot of things. And I just wish I wasn't so reckless in my life, right? I mean, the last one I had like basically cut my I think it was this one, like went straight to the bone, like was like so puffed up. And that was around about 2012. So it's only about 10 years ago. Yeah, around 10 years ago, I guess, 10, 12 years ago. That was the last head injury I had. It was like on concrete. I was running and I went onto footpath, and it was rough footpath. It wasn't smooth, like stone, the ones with the stones on it. And just, like running planted. So the speed of whatever I was running was like, it was crazy. Anyway, nothing compared to, these guys. The incident, American Jews began large-scale organized financial help and assisted in immigration. The incident focused worldwide attention on the persecution of Jews, right, which is happening all over again and has been happening for the last 20 years. But now it's going back to Europe and happening over there and happening in the West. You saw those crazy nutters like at not letting Jewish students go and study at universities in America, right? It's like their parents spent $100,000 on US. It's like, right, $160,000 New Zealand, right? It's 1.6 for what every $1 American is $1.60 New Zealand at the moment, right? I think it'll probably be a bit. Our money will be a bit smaller because everybody, like the American dollar, is going to be worth more now because of the change of government. Because, like you guys already saw all the stocks and the Bitcoins prices skyrocket once the change of election hands presidency recently. All right, so yeah. And here's the other thing, right? So, and within the Russian Empire, right? Oh, yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Like, yeah, so like, all the marching, all the protesting in the West. I mean, these are the people who have been victimized in October. And they wanted to bring the people back home, and they were hiding them in civilian areas, in hospitals, under hospitals, right? Stockpiles of weapons under cemeteries, 200 meters from United Nations building in Libya, I mean, sorry, in northern Lebanon. It was just crazy. It's like, and while UN's going, don't go off, don't, you can't. Their family members are getting taken out of the country. It's like they just want Israel to sit on their hands and take punches to the face, you know, and shots to the stomach and to the head, right, and get beaten up by batons all day long because of the friggin' United Nations. This is why I'm getting to a point where I despise the United Nations. And it's just like it's an organization that hates Israel, as far as I can see from what I've. Right, I remember like a mentor of mine telling me like about 2 decades ago, like 2003. This is before I went to film school, you know, and he was just saying they don't do much, United Nations. It's a terrible thing, and I'm like, no, it's. And now I'm like 20 years later going, you're right. They don't. They actually harm what's happening around the world, right? Communities, like, they could look after themselves so much better and, sort things out better than having an organization that hates the very people that have been 70 years being held hostage by this organization and not allowed to defend themselves. But every time they do, their hands are tied behind their backs, right? Every time they speak, or that they're evil people, right? It's like, how do you like try to exist in a wall, in a little place like it's smaller than Northland where I live, right? It's about the same size. Israel's about the same size of where I live. Northland, this little area of New Zealand, at the top north. We were trying to like figure it out, like the size wise. It's like 20 years ago. My brains are not remembering correctly. I might be wrong on that. But I remember, I think it was like it's like such a small area. And that's it. That's their home. That's always been their home for like going back about 600 years, right? Is it 600, 6,000? Where are we? Yeah, I think about 6,000. So that's the only place, because that's why they're called Israel. Jews, Israelis, right? That's all they have. Yet they can't defend themselves because, hey, their enemies hide under hospitals, hide in civilian areas, are funded by $1 billion from Qatar, right? Who's supposed to be a friend of America, right? And who's basically, playing both sides, right? And it's like a catch-22. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And that's what really pissed me off. It's like, well, how do you survive on that? And here's a weird thing, right? About a decade ago, might have been I used to have a Twitter page, and I used to do like a blog thing and everything. This is like, before Facebook and everything got a bit more thing. So I'll like write this thing, because I've been writing for years, right? I mean, and so I wrote this little thing, and I was trying to do a reference of Fiji, because that's where I'm from, right? And I was doing like this comparison between Indians and Fijians. And it was like all, it was fictional, like this is what we like. It was like this, and I'm like, it's like I was doing like a metaphor type thing, kind of like parallel, this is what if it was like, if it was Indians, and if it was like, Palestine's been the say like they were like the native Fijians, and Indians were the new ones that came there. It's like, and I'm like, it doesn't make sense, because Indians had no right, or aren't from Fiji, right? Unlike Israel, who are from Israel, Jews who are like from Israel. And so I got told off, and I was like, because somebody reached out to me on Twitter, because I shared it, and somebody reached out on Twitter and said, listen, man, that doesn't, that's not the way that is. And so I just like basically went, I'm just gonna not do this anymore, because I just didn't have the knowledge. So I was just trying to make up this fantasy thing, right? Anyway, and that's the whole thing about this. Like, a lot of people have their own minds made up, because they feel like I still can't remember what the words are called, something savage, or colloquialism? Is that what it's called? Colloquialism? Something like that. Hold on, wrong one. Anyway, but like, yeah, it's crazy. But back to this. So, this is 1993, and then they go a second program erupted in the city in October 1995. So 2 years later. So, yeah. Let's go back to the other one, and we could carry down to the next one. So there was the Kiev one. Kiev, of course, is Ukraine, isn't it? Is it Kiev is Ukraine, or is that somewhere else? All right, so Kiev pogrom, right? That happened October 18th to October 20th. Came as a result of the collapse of the city hall meeting of October 18th, 1905, in Kiev and the Russian Empire. Consequently, a mob was drawn into the streets. Among the perpetrators were monarchists, reactionaries, anti-Semites, and common criminals, right? So let's go there. Sorry, I didn't look at that a bit more, but this is like the other one's a bit more. So where are we? Common criminals. Proclaim that all Russia's troubles stem from the mechanisms of the Jews and socialites. The program resulted in the massacre of approximately 100 Jews. So here's the thing. Do you remember, like, only a couple, maybe a year ago or something, when the narrative that that every, who was it? I keep thinking of Diddy, but it's not Diddy. It's the other rapper. You know who I'm talking about here, with a black. If you guys are watching in the chat, please tell me. I can't remember, right? So, what was his name? He's married to the Kardashians, right? Kim. It'll come to me later. But anyway, so he was saying, Jews control everything, right? It's like, maybe because they work hard. It's like the whole capitalist thing, right? Oh, they do. It's like, seriously, dude. Like, then why don't you? Like, Dr. Dre has billions, right? He's rich. So does his wife, right? And so on, all this stuff. We don't go, well, Dr. Dre, he controls the music industry, which he should be saying, right? There's a whole handful of like black people that control the music industry and the black entertainment industry, right? And the movies and stuff. You get like people talking about that recently. Cat Williams did a whole freaking thing on Club Shay Shay, right? Exposing all these guys who are like holding back other black creatives from rising up as entertainers, from getting spots, because they're not playing the game their way, right? So anybody with a lot of money is going to do anything to make sure they stay in power. But everybody was incensed about that when he said that, right? However, now we're like, it's okay to say that, right? Now it's like everybody's running around saying that. I had and here's the weird thing, like, so even like amongst like I was watching a podcast the other day, like it's a panel show, right? I'm not going to mention it because I don't want to like put blast on people. I don't like doing that. This Asian, like, and I don't mean Indian Asian, I mean like Oriental Asian, right? We're like talking about how Jews this, Jews that, and I'm like, the way you're talking, it sounds like very anti-Semitic. It's like you're speaking like the way I've heard other people speak like that. that sounded very racist. And I was like, I can't really be watching you guys, because that is, I was enjoying it up to that point. I'm like, why is this dude out of all of them like going off on that? And you notice that a lot, like, on panels. This well, like, I don't like being on panels, because there's the thing about, like, when you're on panels of people, like, 3's okay, but like any more than that, you're kind of like, there's gonna be someone there who's got some weird ideas. And I felt like, I was like, that is very racist, dude. And then I was watching another dude, like, it's a Muslim, like, this is one of the craziest things. Like, now it's okay to call Jews parasites. I'm like, this is what they used in World War II, man. This is the same sort of, the talking points they use to label and like scapegoat. And this is the thing, like, everybody feels that, like, here's the thing. One way could tell, like, who are the weakest and easiest targets. Find out who everybody uses as a scapegoat. And they were the ones that were the weakest. And you go, oh, no, they're so strong and so smart. Then how come they're getting blown up every day? How come there's people dropping missiles and rockets on them every day? Like I showed you that just before. I was like 19 yesterday. I think it was within the last 24 hours, right? 19 missiles would, dropped on Israel. One came from Iraq, right? You had Houthis and who is the other guy? Oh no, there's another word, Houthis, and it's not Tutsis, but yeah, and all of these getting funded from, like, Qatar and friggin' from Iraq, from Syria, all these other areas, Lebanon, right? And wherever else, right? They've got like mass things. But the weird thing is, all this money that was being poured into to help the Palestinians in Gaza, it's sitting in these tunnels under those homes, those hospitals, that cemetery, right? That torture friggin' room, right? All across the underground tunnels, filled with rockets, filled with rifles, filled with grenades, with army uniforms, right? With like all the food that was supposed to be sent to the Gazans, right? From the West, from us, stupid little people who thought like we were helping them, but all that food and all that money that we gave was sitting in the tunnels to be used to buy more weapons to basically hurt Israel, right? To basically kill, maim, destroy their infrastructure, their people, blow up their homes, right? And not only that, but then the food that was sent there, hey, that's sitting there under there, like pallet loads as well. And yet we're saying there's famine in Palestine, they're starving, they don't have the resources, because they're all going to these terrorists and they're getting sold for 2x, 3 times the price back to the Palestinians. The free stuff that was given to, Palestinians from the West, from the United Nations, from America, right? From all these well-meaning people, right? And we should help people who need help. But hey, guess it wasn't getting to them, because the moment it arrived, they got taken and put away into their own warehouses underground. And then, hey, you want some food? We got this for free, but guess what? You got to pay for it 2-3 times the amount. If you look, you'll see that. If you open your eyes, it's all out there. Evidence all over there, right? Out there online, right? If you want news items, whatever, right? You can get you can watch if you just open your eyes and research for yourself, rather than just watching the friggin' talking heads talk to you about it, right? Rather than me just telling you about it. Research. So all that, like, seriously, man, I'm just like thinking how much is like every gun, like I'm looking at is worth about $1,000, say about 500 US, right? How much is a bullets? How much is a grenade? How much is is a rocket launcher? How much is a missile? Where the frig is a missile coming from? Right? It's coming from China. It's coming from Russia. It's coming from Iran. Right? So it's pretty, it's strange that we can, we've gotten so bold to treat, openly be so racist towards an ethnic group, right? A race of people, to that we let people attack their country. And yet when America was attacked, all right, on 9/11, we all incensed and said, yes. They went to Afghanistan, they went to Iraq, Syria, right? North Africa. All right. Obama did such terrible things, and he was called what was it, like the drone? Yeah, the drone, something like the king of drones or something, because he killed so many people with the drone, dropped so many bombs. Drone, the drone bomber, whatever that was called. Somebody came up with a coin phrase that I can't remember right now. In North Africa, right? That is what gave rise to the Houthis. To go, okay, this is what we're going to do. Same thing, across, and so now because of the guilt, we turn on the only democratic country, right, that's actually that welcomes all races, that welcomes all sexuality, right, choices. You can freely be a gay, lesbian, trans person there. And that's the only place that you're allowed to be, in the middle of the friggin' Middle East, to be freely yourself, right? However, that's the one place we attack. That we hate those people so much because, hey, guess what? They're an easy target because they're white. Oh, but guess what? But they're also Jewish. Double whammy. It's weird how we're like just so quickly forget that this is a race of people that's always been hounded. And there's also people on, like, I think it's on the right, far right, who go, well, that's what it says in the Bible, they deserve to because they killed Jesus. I was like, these guys didn't. It's like the same thing with like reparations and stuff. Those guys didn't like enslave you. For me, I'm like really glad that Europeans spread out around the world, like the English spread out around the world, because I know it's better for Indians and all the other races, because that will, even despite the early years of all people, everybody trying to carve up their little piece themselves. And of course, there, before there was law, and kind of like there was like a Wild Wild West everywhere. Here in New Zealand was Wild Wild West as well. It was crazy until, let's get the law down. Let's recognize what we're about, police the system, and all that. It was just crazy. I know the Pacific Island, people were getting cannibalized, man. They were getting eaten. The Fijians, like where I'm from, Fiji, the native Fijians, who used to get on their canoes, outrigger canoes, and go hunting for some long white pig. Well, sorry, not long white pig, because they weren't white, but long pig. Sorry, that's the word, long pig. Humans, right? Human protein. And because I read into that, I did research into that before the Jesuits, the Catholics, the Protestants arrived, and they talked to the chiefs. They said, "Listen, man, this is crazy. It's crazy because people. This is not right." And so when they turned to Christianity, the chiefs and stuff, they stopped, they realized that, hey, yeah, this is not the way to live by, going crazy out here, like hunting all these people down. There'll be no Samoans now. There'll be no Tokolawans now. There'll be no Tongans now because they'll be all eaten up. So, colonies basically kind of stopped that. Well, basically did stop that, I should say, not kind of. But also, it wasn't easy. You had system of law came in, homes were built, businesses, people were able to get food easier, so you don't have to go hunting for food, for the long pig. And a lot of people don't know all this because they don't understand what the world was like before they got mobile phones, right? Because they have never been outside their country. They've never been in around any other cultures. I've been lucky through my life. Like I left home when I was about 16, going on 17, and I lived with Tokolawans, Rarotongans, Maori, Pakeha, Europeans. Right. My first girlfriend was Taiwanese. Right. And just learning from other people, being around them, they're the same. They love their family. They want to provide for them. Yet sometimes people, for the sake of religion, go nuts for the sake of greed, right? It's like people always get confused, like money is like evil. It's like the Bible says, like it's for, the love of money is evil. It's not money is evil. It's a love of it. It's a greed, right? And because that's one of the things I think is like the lusting after other people's stuff. I think that's probably the most corrupt thing in the world. Is like they have something I want. I'm going to take them without paying for it, right? Without working hard myself to pay for it. That's why I think, that's why I don't understand socialists, because like just take, right, without having to work for something, just receive without having to work for something. And I'm a capitalist, right? So I believe that if I can provide a service of value, then I should be rewarded. I.e., pay for it or in kind, right? If I work for you, you give me something in return, and that's how people advance in life. I know my family's done really well that way, by working hard, by studying hard, and leveling up, And so when people sit back and expect everything, they're not gonna level up. They're just gonna be on the same level. Then they'll get jealous of other people's stuff. Then they'll lust after people's stuff. And they go, that's what the whole thing from anti-Semitism kind of comes at. Like, well, why are the Jews are so rich? Why are they have this? As if they don't have their own problems, right? Like you saw there, they had to these guys there that they had to get help from America to get them the hell out of there, financial aid to get them out of help them out of Russia. Because there was other people that were richer than those poor Russian Jews that were there. Not every single Jew is ultra rich, right? They're just trying to get by. And the thing is that we try to make them the other, right? And that's shown us the last year or so. It's really shown this despicable brainwashing of the left, right? Of the far left, and maybe some on the far right as well. Far right, those who are like, oh, the Jews are, running the government and all that. Because that's basically what was happening. They were saying 100 years ago, and they would does that mean it's true? Those guys were just trying to live their life. And it's like, how are you going to, there are 500 people there, and you're going oh, we run everything. No, the reason you say they run everything is because they're an easy target. If I'm the only Indian and there's about 100 people there, and someone whispers in your ear, oh, it's probably that dude, very quickly you'll be like, oh yeah, it's him. 4 or 5 people go to him, because one of them will be like, damn it, I want what he's got. I don't have to pay for it. Why don't we make him the scapegoat for this? Right? Excuse me. So all these things have happened, right? We know it's like for 100 years, right? Over 100 years, probably 200 years. They've been, like everywhere they've gone, they've been basically, hounded. Of course, you should already know about, yeah, you should know, right? You should know all about World War II and what happened there. And it's just, now we'll move into Amsterdam. I've got a couple of videos, right? But I want to show you something first. It's okay, so it's that one. It's this one. Here we go. So this is, what was it called? Hold on, apologies. It is called, every time. Oh. Every time I click on something, it starts voicing up. So I'm just, right, here we go. I think I've got it. It is this one. So this is from a cool little channel. Well, not cool little channel, but this is a new channel I discovered called Muslim Chronicles. So this is a post from there. And he puts up, at this point, this is from 2 days ago, at this point, Muslims are showing their true agenda. Jews cannot have their own country, and they also cannot live elsewhere. What Muslims expect is for Jews not to live on the earth. Right? Same photo, same Europe, same victims, 80 years apart. Right. So let's get to the let's go with this one first. Apologies for silence, but I'm trying to make sure I have the right one before put it up so we can, here we go. Let's go. This is from, it's 12 minutes long, but we'll only see, see a little bit of it because I want to, you guys can check out the rest of it later for yourselves. But here's a video link. So this is shocking images from November 8th, sorry. It's 12 today in New Zealand. It's Tuesday for me in New Zealand here. And here we go. So,
in European history. And the reason. Shalom, guys. I want to talk today about what happened in the Netherlands in Holland because it's quite extraordinary. You are looking now at the stadium of Ajax Amsterdam, one of the greatest clubs in European history. And the reason we are talking about Amsterdam today is because a lot of Israelis traveled to Amsterdam to support their team Maccabi Tel Aviv. Now, we need to understand that Ajax Amsterdam is quite an extraordinary club because the fans, even the hooligans, say that they are the super Jew. That's how they call themselves. And because of this, you have some bizarres of Dutch people, Dutch fans of Ajax, singing, for example, a very Jewish folk song as Hava Nagila. Just listen to this. So, this is not uncommon on Ajax games. You will see Israeli flags, you will see chants of the fans singing Israeli songs, and you will see people calling themselves, "We are Jews." That's how you should call us. And there was even a documentary made about this phenomenon, and it's called The Super Jews. And it's in Dutch and in Hebrew, but you can read the subtitles. And the Ajax fans are really dedicated to this. They own these nicknames. You will see giant flags on stadiums. You would see people tattooing on their arms the Star of David. So it's serious stuff. And of course, not only have Ajax, there are other major clubs that are also quite important. And the rivalry between those clubs is very big, but the rivalry between the fans of those clubs is even bigger, and it's much more extreme. And as you have fans of Ajax Amsterdam that call themselves the Jews, you also have fans of Feyenoord Rotterdam that are the arch enemies of those fans. And just so that you understand how extreme this support is, how extreme the expression of it is, when Ajax fans have songs that they sing that are like Hava Nagila, they have the flags of Israel, they have the tattoos of the Star of David. The fans of Feyenoord Rotterdam make a special sound during the games that is to pretend to be the sound of the gas that is put into the gas chambers, reminding that the fans of Ajax Amsterdam should be gassed. And of course, in the Jewish context, this is huge. The reason why Ajax supporters, one of the reasons why Ajax supporters call themselves the Jews is because before World War II, there were over 70,000 Jewish people living in Amsterdam. And the stadium is located where a lot of those Jews were living. And because of this, Ajax as a club had a big Jewish following. Of course, today it is not the case. There is much less Jews living in Holland. And in fact, a very small percentage of the people that follow Ajax, that support Ajax, are actually Jewish. And Ajax is certainly the most successful club in Holland, one of the most successful clubs in Europe. It has a beautiful history of football. But because it is one of the best, everybody else from Holland hates Ajax. The fans of other clubs hate Ajax because they are the best. And this is also something that is creating a lot of tensions. And especially when they use such a symbol as a symbol of a Jewish nation. Now, why am I saying all of this? Well, first of all, I am saying this so that you understand the context. This is the context of this situation. And I rather say it to you, I rather tell you about it and that you hear it from me than other media that might twist and use this situation. Because what the media will do and is already doing is saying that this is another hooligan fight between the fans of Maccabi and the fans of Ajax Amsterdam, which is not true. And you can clearly understand that it is not true if you know who Ajax fans are and who do they support, who do they identify with. They identify as the Jew. So it's not a hooligan fight between the Maccabi fans and Ajax fans. It is not that. This is something much bigger and something much more serious. But the media will be presenting this as a hooligan fight. And as a proof of this, here you can see a headline from the Daily Mail blaming the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans for first, disturbing the peace, destroying the flags of Palestine. This is the narrative that you will probably hear. This is a footage of Tomer Talias, an Israeli who came to the game of Maccabi. And his witness of what was actually happening after the game is terrifying. He said that the people that were attacked were not only men, were women and children, and they were hunted down by groups of angry men with Palestinian flags. This was an organized group of violent men that went on the streets of Amsterdam and were asking everybody, if somebody didn't know how to speak Dutch, if somebody spoke Hebrew or couldn't speak Dutch, he was beaten. And it didn't matter if you were a man, a woman, or a child. That's disgraceful. And of course, I cannot show you many videos that are an evidence of what happened last night. But many Jewish people are calling this a pogrom. Pogrom is a term that comes from the Russian.
All right, we've just been through that, right? So let's go there.
Where was police in all of this? Because they were also persecuted in this special zone due to the many, many pogroms. Now, you may be asking, where was police in all of this? Because how can a mob of people in a civilized country just walk around, persecute people, kick them, beat them up, and even kidnap them?
We've seen this we've kind of like, if you look across Europe, there's this one thing that I've been talking about for probably about 5 years now on Facebook, right? Since I found out, maybe not 5 years. Yeah, actually might have been 6 years now. When I found out in London, England, UK, right? I think it was London, UK, England. For 10 years, they allowed I think it was about 200 East Indian and Middle Eastern men to groom children and young girls and boys, if I remember right, for sex. And they knew what was happening. It was a grooming gang. That's what they were called. It was a grooming gang. And they were untouchable by police, by ministers, by local councils, because they were brown. Remember earlier I was talking about the grape of the, in Israel, and the grape of back 100 years ago, right? Because, like I said, it's always it's about dehumanizing, and these are young kids, and so the local people were going, hey, we can't let, you guys got to arrest these people, or we can't, because we're seen as racist. And this is the thing that brown people have very, very, in America, have used race to get away with all the, and I was going to say murder, but like they have literally have gotten away with murder. And in this case, grooming children. And it's only been like in the last couple of months that they've actually acknowledged that the cases took forever, but the damage was done. Like, this is like over a 10-year period. He goes, well, how can these, well, if you look in Europe, right, like UK in the last couple of months, right, people were walking around with batons, like 4x2s, right, timber, right, wooden canes, and attacking people on the street, you know, in gangs. But the police don't police them. They police the people who are like doing that, you know, trying to stop it. You know, they won't, you know, if you're getting attacked, the police is on the side of the attacker because they're brown. You kind of like, I know I'm like far removed from, but I find it shameful. Like, especially when the grooming thing was happening, I was just so ashamed, because just to think of all the children, right? Like, and I don't want to sound like, oh, think of the children. No, I mean, really, think of the children that these people, these friggin' bastards were doing these things to. Their lives are destroyed forever. You can't undo that when that's been done to you. Like, it's never going to go away. It's always in the back of your head. You always, you know, and you're always like suspicious of that race or those people, and then go, oh, why don't you like those people? Why can't you sit next to them? Or why won't you talk to them? Because, like I mentioned in the other video, stereotypes are real, right? When you have somebody do such things to you, you put up a defense, right? And if you're lucky, with enough therapy or enough, you know, learning or self-help or whatever you can do, if you don't give in to alcohol or drug use or, you know, self-harm, which most of them end up doing, or basically, you know, Minecrafting themselves, as you know, you guys know what I mean when I say that. Or, you know, self-deletion, if you don't understand Minecraft. And also, out of that comes a lot of self-hate. That's why people start hurting themselves. And I think, and that's what I mean, like some of them will, like, their lives will be ruined to a point where they can't have children, or their brains are so corrupted because of that, the injustice, injury done to them by those people, that they will change their own sexuality to get the hell away from it. Right? And you see a lot of, like, if in the, you know, in the LGBT community, you'll see a lot of people that have actually been abused, that have, you know, to deal with it, right? To try to mentally, to play the mental gymnastic to, and I'm not trying to downplay the seriousness of it, but the mental gymnastics that has to be played to get to a point where you can accept it, but while doing that, your brain's so corrupted, so some go to the extreme, right? Cut parts of them off, parts of themselves off, to run away from it, to try to go, I don't want to, you know. And there's a, you know, and there is a correlation between abuse and rape, where you know, a lot of LGBT people come from that, right? Of course, there's also the other part where there isn't any abuse physically, but there is, where, like, if there's a, you know, if it's an overbearing mother of a boy, right, or a daughter, or the other way around as well, right, where the child will basically change, you know, become gay or tomboy or whatever, because of that mental, emotional damage from verbal abuse and so on. And we've seen enough, you know, there's enough research, enough documentaries, enough news things, you know, enough papers, enough things you can, you know, out there to learn from, to understand that these things are part of it. Not always, but majority, you know, there's quite a large amount. And so I was, you know, so I was always like, every time a new news item came out, I'll share it, I'll speak about it, how despicable these people had to let them off because they were brown for 10 years, man. There's a gentleman that was like, his name is Tommy. Robinson. Yeah, Tommy Robinson. Like, he was like fighting so hard for it to bring these people to justice, try to get action on it. You know, they put him in jail, like, because, you know, there was like, oh, you know, you can't do, you're for racism, you can't put these things out, you can't talk about this, you can't. For 10 years. They let these go on. Because people, and, you know, they use race, ethnicity, skin color to hide despicable acts and behaviors. And then they can say, well, you can't touch me. Right? The most recent one we know online is that that YouTube streamer that I've talked about, right? Did a stream on him called Johnny Somali, right? Not his real name. I think it's like Ibrahim Ishmael or something like that, right? American, Somalian, or Ethiopian. I think it's Ethiopian, over in terrorizing, you know, Asian people over in Asia. Now he's like probably going to end up in jail for about 29 years because people finally had enough of him. Despicable person, right? For clout, for money, terrorizing girls with, you know, and children with sexual sounds, with sexual statements. You know, like, I like to you know, children, like in a public thing in Korean, blasted on his like phone, right, real loud around children. And then when people go, stop doing that, go, oh no, you're racist, you're racist, you're racist, you're racist, because I'm black. It's like, you know what that does? That makes those people think, and I know, you know, that's what I'm talking about. You know, I was talking about stereotypes. That makes people think, oh, they're all like that. But one thing I know, there's only one race of one religious group of people who are showing themselves blatantly to be a scourge on other people around the world.
Well, there are some really disturbing things coming to light about the Dutch police. So apparently, policemen who didn't feel comfortable to protect Jewish sites were not forced to do so. They could just say, no, I don't want to do my job. I don't want to protect Jewish sites. And they were allowed to do so. And now, when there is a huge security problem,
This is the same thing, like I just said, this is the same thing that happened in over the last couple of months in UK. There are people there that won't protect the citizens, right? Your job as a police officer is like I was talking about earlier about documentaries, that as a journalist, right? You put your biases aside, right? Whatever political leanings, whatever your beliefs are, you basically, when you put on the uniform, when you pick up the pen to write us, you know, tell the news, you're telling the news. You're not putting your own stunt on it. You're not commentating on it. You're not trying to lean this way to like paint someone in a bad way, right? You just tell it down the middle. So when you put on a uniform, you represent the law of that country. You don't represent your family. You don't represent your friends. You don't represent your neighbor. You're putting on the law and the Constitution, up to uphold the Constitution and the law of your country, right? Because you chose that job and you are now held accountable for your actions to represent the country. So to see a lot of this happening is despicable, right? And a lot of people locally are getting angry about this. How could you, choose not to help someone because they're a certain race? It's like someone going, oh, I don't like Indians, so I'm going to help them. I'm getting beaten up, so I'm like, oh yeah, you can't, we're not going to help them because I just, somebody, I just don't like Indians, so I'm not going to help them. Like, but you're a police officer. Your job is to uphold the law, right? It's like politicians. Your job is to to look after the people who chose you to be there, who picked you to be in that place, right? If they voted for you, your responsibility is to the people, the taxpayers, the people who picked you to be there, right? Who chose with their votes, right? With their support to get you there. You're not you. You're not your party, right? You're representative of that people, right? Like in the case of a police officer, you're representative of your country. If you don't want to do that, go home. No more pay packet for you, right? I will be like that. I'll be like, yeah, okay. So, right. So you don't want a job. You don't want to do. You only want to do the job that's easy, or you only want to do the job that doesn't means you don't want to support this. I'm going to help those people. Well, sorry, we only want people who are going to be holding the law. In the sense that you don't see color, you don't see races, you see crime and punishment, helping someone who is in need of help. It's like being, it's like somebody, I guess, an ambulance arrived and goes, oh yeah, I don't want to, I'm not going to help him because I don't like his kind. That's basically what's happened here, right?
The Jewish people are not safe at all because there is not enough police to protect them. That's really problematic. And I am not really surprised that this is happening. I was saying that this will happen. As Europe will become more and more Muslim, it will.
That's the problem, right? Like, I mean, that's the thing. They've done it like, this is the thing is, like, it's a repetition of that. Like, so in that sense, like Shifter was saying, right? They put people on the trains before already, right? I talked about it earlier, right? Because we're there. And so you kind of go like, is it going back to like the neo-Nazi era now? Because they've let so many migrants in, and just as many as like and this is why I'm saying about why the UN needs to be shut down, is that because they make up like, oh, you have to accept this many and you have to take this many. It's like, but we don't have the resources. No, you must take it. And then what happens? People with common sense goes, hey, listen, we can't take that many. But then the politicians will, because they're playing politics, they don't really care about the country. They play politics, right? We've seen people do this all the time. Politicians play politics. They tell you they're going to do this when they get in, and then do something else, right? And so what's happened in Europe the last decade or so, that the left-leaning parties have gotten in, because guess what? People are like, oh, we've been hurt, we've been supporting America and NATO over in the Middle East, and we've ruined their homes and stuff and all this, and so they got to come. It's like, well, you can also let them stay there and support them there. I mean, that is their country and their home, right? Let's build there. And also what we can there's a process to getting them here, but no, UN wants to dump it, right? This number, this is what you get. Like, where's the resource coming from? So then so I'm saying, like, the left-leaning parties basically go, okay, we'll just get whatever we want. Yeah, well, that's what ends up, right? And you're right. Like, a lot of them will just basically end up, because they come there with nothing, so they end up on welfare, on government support and stuff. And that's true, because that's what's happened, across England, France. France basically, what was it like? England decided to get out, Britain, England, whatever, UK, decided to get out of the EU, European Union, right? Or is it EC? EU, yeah. European Council, that's it, EC. And so because they wanted to get out of the European Council, France is really pissed off, and especially Macron is pissed off at UK. So they basically let the, illegals go through into England willy-nilly. So in England, right, nursing homes built for their elderly are now being given over to young, let's say about 20, 30-year-old East Indian and Middle Eastern people, men. They're not families, all right? Men, right? And so you'll see that's why there's all these males on the street doing all this damage, right? Because they have to, they all speak the same language, they have the same culture, and of course they have the same death cult that they worship, right? And so they're able to basically organize amongst themselves. They use the resources that should be, like I said, the elderly. They get to be in motels, or else, like the local people who can't afford to, like they're homeless, they get nothing. This is what really pissed me off about this, is that they're the citizens whose families who for generations have been paying into the welfare system for their support when they need it, into their retirement homes, retirement fund, like when you retire, you get your, stipend, and all this stuff. They don't get that because all their resources are going towards, is being shoved somewhere else. The schooling becomes poor. It all gets, health is overrun by all these resources being used on these migrants who have nothing to do in that country. Not only that, and that's something that I want to pick up on what Swift is saying here, uneducated bumps, right? So part of that is they don't speak the language. They don't want to speak the language. They don't want to assimilate. So they huddle in their little communities, right? They never learn the language of the land, right? So how do they assimilate? How do they get work outside the communities? They don't. Majority of them will be just like hired by their own people in their own communities. And so you don't know what's happening. They don't know what the law is. I know, like I've mentioned this before here about my cousin. We didn't even know what was happening with her, but she was getting like her pay was like being kept from her. She was having to work too much because the guy from India, right? And she wasn't speaking to anybody around us to let us know what was going on. And so she was getting what is called like economically abused at her workplace, right? Financially, like wasn't paid what she was supposed to be paid according to our law in New Zealand, right? And so when we finally found out, it was like, holy shit, why couldn't you tell us that? So there are things that we need to be wary of why what is the end result for this, because when you're like sitting around got nothing to do and your imams and your mosque are telling you this is what we do, remember, this is how we do things. Talking about how we do things in Iraq, they've lowered the age of marriage to 9 years old. So a 9-year-old little girl can now be married to a 50, 60, 80-year-old person. And why is that? Well, you see, because Mo married Aisha when she was 6, but he had sex with her when she was 9. See, it's in there. It's in the it's in that book. So you can't really argue that because it's in the book. But let's carry on with this. I don't want to get too deep in that.
Will become more and more anti-Semitic. These are just basically the fact, and Europe will become more and more.
So you look at that. North America, right? Muslim population growth compared with overall growth in each region, right? Check it out. Percentage. Europe.
Muslim as the years go. So this will go on, and it will increase and increase. Surprised that this is happening. I was saying that this will happen. As Europe will become more and more Muslim, it will become more and more anti-Semitic. These are just basically the fact, and Europe will be.
It won't just become anti-Semitic. It'll become anti-Europe. It'll become anti-Western. It'll become anti-democratic laws. It'll become hardline, far-right Islamists ruled by, like, I think it's a Shia. Like, remember I said, like, I don't know which one's which. One of them's like Shia. I think it's Shia is like the extremist side of it, like the hardcore. And they're the ones who, and the end result of them is like what Afghanistan, right? That is the end result of it. Basically, that's called hardline, and they want Europe to be like that. They're not moderates, right? They're not moderates. Sunnis are let me just make sure I got this right? So I better get this right. So what is Sunni, right? What is Sunni Muslim? I know, I'm sure it was like Sunni. What is Sunni Muslim? All right, so Sunni Muslims, right? Sunni, member of one of the two major branches of Islam. The branch consists of the majority of that region's adherents. Sunni Muslims regard the denomination as the mainstream and traditional branch of Islam. It's distinguished from the minority denomination, the Shia, right? So the Sunnis recognize the first four caliphs as the Prophet's rightful successors, whereas the Shia have believed that Muslim leadership belonged to Muhammad's son-in-law, right? So, and fighting bloodlines. So what's the major difference should be what I should be looking. What is the major and I'm got another 15 minutes before I finish, guys. And because I've got to get to, I'm a guest on a comic book site talking about our comics that are coming up between Sunni and Shia. So sorry for, I didn't expect to be running this long, but right. So here we go. Key differences, right? What did I just see there? So let's try this. So here we go. Sunni and Shia. We know there's two types. The split in religion comes between the in-laws. Now, it's nothing like, here's the thing, like, unlike Catholics and Protestants, and this is from Muslims, right, who've said this. It's nothing like Islam is nothing like Catholics and Protestants breaking apart, right? It's nothing like that. So basically, the guy said, like, don't be confused by that. It's nothing like that, right? So men may, like, so here's the Shia say men may marry up to 4 women. Men may marry up to more women, right? So population is the Shia, right? So that's the small ones, right? So there's 200 million, and then it's got 1.2 billion of the Sunni, right? What are some other crazy things? Yeah, and this is the weird thing is this is what they believe, but they hate Christians and Judah, like in their book. That's what they tell you, but it's actually they hate them, right? So they believe that Jesus did not die, so on the cross, right? But his body went up into heaven, right? So nothing right there, nothing to do with Christianity, right? Where are we? Gosh, they don't even tell you, like, it's the Shia that's like, yeah, if I remember right, Shia is the most extreme side of that. But you can check it out. Like, I mean, I'll leave this to check out. But yeah, do watch. Like, here's the thing. I recommend watching, right, ex-Muslim podcasters. Like, there is. Let me see if I saved a video from him. There was apostate prophet is a good one to watch. He's very learned, and of course there's also ex-Muslims channel, right? And there are other ones as well. So I'm just checking my time, right? So that was actually, let me show some videos right before we go on to that. But here we go. From that was that one. Let's go to here it is. So this is a apostate prophet, right? Okay, let's do this. Have I got you? Yep, I got you. All right.
In Amsterdam, attacks started happening. Reports came in that in the Netherlands, people are attacking Israeli fans, Israeli Jews. And I started seeing videos immediately of people going around and hunting down Jewish people. F Israel, free Palestine, burning an Israel flag, and so on. You have them going around mobbing and hunting people. You have this. You have these incidents. You have this.
I give you. I give you my money. I give you, please don't. I give you my money. I give you my money. No! I give you money. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Take my money. Take my money. Want to kill kids?
Yeah, those guys were beating up children. Yeah, didn't care if you were a woman or children. They were beating them up as well.
They force him to say free Palestine. They force him to say free Palestine. he says free Palestine, then they still beat him
There's no
and
That's the
accuse him
thing,
of killing kids.
see that's the thing. There's no winning with monsters, right? There's no winning with like people of that despicable belief system, because at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong. There's nothing, you can't appease them. When a person's made up their mind that you are a parasite, you are not human, they have dehumanized you to the point that like you're just a walking target. Doesn't matter what you say, right? I've been in a situation actually, just walking on the street, got KO'd from the back. This was like in 2006. I just finished my 3 years of 3 years of film school. I went to I was a third year, just finished my third years, right? Went to a second year students class gathering. About 20, 30 people were there. Then I decided to walk home. Because usually, I didn't expect to get beaten up. I was in the light, walking down the street in the light. A guy walks past and goes, "Oh, I got a light, mate?" "No, I don't smoke." And I didn't at the time. Oh no, he said, "You got to smoke, sorry." And I said, "No, I don't smoke." I don't remember anything after that until I remember him on top of me coming to. So I was KO'd down the street, right? Like about 500 meters down the street, down a dark alley, kind of like an off the lights. There was like no lights there. And so I'm in the dark and he's on top of me. And I'm like, because he must have been like trying to wake me awake, shake me awake, because I was like out cold. And so I wake up, look at him like, so I've been in the situation. So I know what it's like to be assaulted, right? And 7 months later, I'm like in a car accident, getting hit from the back from our car. Somebody hitting us in the back of the car while I'm in the passenger seat. So yeah, it's terrifying. Like seriously, like unless you've been in that situation where you're being assaulted, and where you're like fearing for your life, that's basically what it was with me. I was like, dude, this guy, if I don't, because all I was doing was grabbing his wrist, because I could see that his intention was to kill me, right? And if I don't know what the hell what was wrong with him, but all I know is that if I let go of his wrist, I was dead, because I would get knocked out, and that was it. He could do whatever the hell he wanted to me. And then so he, like, while I'm holding on to this, he drags me. And the great thing was, like, it was the middle of, like, it's like it was a cold night, so I've got my great jacket, there's big long great jackets, and so the army ones, right? So it's like heavy thinged up. And then on the back of that, I had my my hard drives in my bag for my schoolwork, because all my film, all my film work on there, like files, film footage, right? From all like hour and 15-minute long film, and all my work, because I was taking everything home, because we just finished. It was the last day and everything, and so that was my backpack. So that was getting smashed up. And then he drags me across into the dark area, like totally dark, because it's behind buildings. And I'm like, oh crap. I look down and there's just rocks under me, like this big, right? Fist-sized rocks. And I'm like, because it's a train track. So you know how the train tracks, they have those big rocks, rough rocks, just to put the rails on, right? And so it's just, and I'm like, if he hits me with one of those, I'm dead. I'm like, there's nothing. And so I'm struggling with them, and this young couple in their 20s in a white car drive around the corner and shine their lights on us. And as soon as he, like a deer in headlights, right? As soon as the light hits him, he just lets go. And I'm like, and I just go, holy, and I rush and jump in the back of the young couple's car. The guy's driving, his girlfriend's there. And I'm like, get me out of here, get out of here. The guy's trying to kill me, get me out of here. They're like, what's going on? It's like, please, please. And I'm like, because like all that stress of trying to survive has just caused my body to go into shock. And my eyes are like, my eyelids like sorry, I'm crying, right? Basically, I'm not even, it's just like, boom, like everything's out. And I'm just bawling, and like all that stress that I'm just building up to survive is, is let out. And so, I'm just trying, I'm trying to show you what it's like to be in a situation. If you have been in a situation, you know what it's like. And for those, you would do anything to survive, because you're dead otherwise. You're gone. Like your family doesn't see you. You never see your future. Your future's over. There's nothing. All, everything I've worked up for that point, nothing. My wife at that time, she's waiting at home for me, right? And so on. Like, none of that's going to happen. I've spent 3 years of my life working my butt off, and like I was doing like 60-hour weeks, right? 70-hour weeks, studying 40, and then doing 30 hours of work over that whole week, right? Or more, depending on what day it was, or what sort of week it was. And yet somebody with total disregard for my life, my future, my health, like these assholes, we're willing to come and take that all away.
Amsterdam.
He's not moving. He's KO.
This is a mob finding an Israeli guy, hunting him down, kicking into him and beating him. He was left unconscious.
Yep.
Whoever these people are should be found and should be judged in the most severe way. Am I surprised that this is happening? Absolutely not. Am I really surprised? No, absolutely not. Things like these are bound to happen if you have an unchecked influx of Islamists into your countries.
Yeah.
And just let them do whatever they want in your country, and let Islam just grow and disregard any criticism of Islam and Islamic attitudes as Islamophobic and racist and whatever it is. And of course, there are some people who are who might at this point not care very much, because they're like, oh, we don't care. I don't care about Jews. I don't care about Jews. I also have a problem with Jews. I also have a problem. Well, they're going to come for you next. Okay? You are next.
Yeah.
You are next.
It's
no matter who
happening
you
Europe.
are. If you are not Jewish, it's not a secret. Jews are the most hated group among Muslims in Islam since the beginning of Islam.
Yep.
But it doesn't stop with Jews. If you're a Christian who doesn't care, they're going to come for you next. If you're an atheist who doesn't care, they're going to come for you next.
Right.
If you're some LGBTQ folk who doesn't care, they're going to come for you next. They are already coming for you. You're just stupid and don't see it.
Yeah.
This is part of the Islamist mindset. Once they have the opportunity, they will come for you as well. Let's look at what the mayor of Amsterdam said.
Nooit was het antisemitisme ver weg.
Anti-Semitism was never far away. Oh, yeah, really? And why? Why is that the case? Why was anti-Semitism never far away?
De oorlog in het Midden-Oosten bedreigt.
Now the war in the Middle East is also threatening peace in our city. Excuse me, it's not now. It's not now. So the mayor of Amsterdam on Friday announced tighter security measures in the city after a night of violence where fans of Israeli football club Maccabi Tel Aviv were targeted. I am ashamed at what happened in the city, admitted Femke Halsema, as she described hit-and-run attacks on the Israeli fans, announcing a temporary ban on protests. Nobody needs tighter security measures. What people need is deportations.
100%. I agree with
what
that.
What people need is a demographic change. What people need is a halt to the excuses that people have made for decades now in order to accept and not kick out certain populations and their belief systems and their political ideologies and so on.
Stay!
It's basically a gang mentality.
We
right?
run a Judenjagd. We run a Judenjagd. We are going on a Jewish hunt. We're going on a Jewish hunt. We're going on a Jew hunt. Going on a Jew hunt. Jew hunt. Jew hunt. Jew hunt. Here it says Hamas, Hamas, Jews to the gas. And here is just expressions by the Palestinians.
والله لو أخرجنا اليهود من فلسطين
Catch a sifter. I'm
لو
almost
أخرجناهم
finished.
من فلسطين
Thank you.
وأخرجناهم من بيت المقدس دون أن يسلموا ولو ذهبوا آخر العالم سنلاحقهم
I told you.
وسندعوهم إلى الإسلام وندعو بوجه الإسلام وندعو جميع النصارى.
Geert Wilders has been running on the whole front of taking care of the Islamic issue and making Europe safer for everyone. His party got the majority vote. He got the majority vote in the last elections. However, his party didn't have enough power to establish a government, so he cannot make policies on his own. He is in a coalition with other conservatives, and I know people have lots of expectations, but he doesn't really have the power to do lots of these things that people expect of him. He said, I just spoke by phone with Israeli...
See, that's what happened with Trump, right? The last 4 years, like previous to Biden, he was there, but everybody was stopping him from, from fixing what was wrong, right? Because of Obama, right? And so then because he was all halted on that, and then like, of course, Biden and Harris. And here's the thing, guys. I want to. Here's the thing. So, from like the moment that Kamala Harris was picked as VP, I knew she was going to be bad because I'd been watching. Unlike some people, I was watching what she was, she was doing previous to being in there, right? And why she was picked, right? It was a virtue signal to pick her because they wanted to do the first of this, the first of this, the first of that, the first of this. It wasn't because she was talented, she was skilled, she had merit, but because of this. I had a person message me, go, "Oh, aren't you happy that we have like a Indian going to be the VP?" And I'm like, no. This is like 4 years ago, right? And I'm like, no, because I know what this person's like. And so, of course, I'm hoping that this time there is no halting to getting things done that needs to be done in America, because where America goes, so goes the world. And the last 4 years has basically shown what happens when there isn't strong leadership, putting good policies in state, protecting borders, sorting out, wars, right? There was no wars under Trump, making sure there isn't conflict, that there is actually end to conflict so that people can live in peace together. However, like I said, there's one group of people who don't want peace. They don't. The fact that they call it the religion of peace, it's not. There's nothing about Islam that's a religion of peace. There's moderates, but moderates basically don't speak up about these people and go, they're not part of us. Like in Christianity, you go, well, they're not part of us, man. They'll tell you that. They're like, no, they're not, those people are not,
Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu and told him of my anger and shame of what happened in Amsterdam. There is no place for anti-Semitism and Jew hate in the Netherlands, and I will do all I can to protect Jews and stop and expel Islamic radicals. I hope that he can use his influence in the best way to get something done and to start finding a solution to this problem, because if these guys can't do it, then I don't know. There were lots of propaganda, of course, from the other side saying, "Oh, it's actually it's actually the other side that started it," and so on. Some Maccabi fans looking for a fight. Witness tells BBC. Yeah, witness. I've spoken to a fan who went to the match last night who reports seeing Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters on the Amsterdam metro going up and down the carriages 3 or 4 times looking for a fight. He adds that he's shocked by the portrayal of the incident in the media, adding that the attacks were completely provoked and the Palestinian flags were torn down the night before. Let's put this into perspective, okay? Even if some Israeli fans actually went and tore down Palestine flags, does this then mean it is therefore justified? It's therefore justified to hunt down and lynch Israeli people? Is that really what people are getting at? Police and mayor and politicians and so on have confirmed that it was actively people organized to go out and seek out and hunt down and attack and beat up and lynch Jewish people, calling them Jews repeatedly, Israeli people, and so on. Tomorrow after the match at night, part 2 Jewish hunt, they won't go to the casino anymore. Yes, tomorrow they will come again. They will let us know, just like today. KK dogs. Anyway, if they come again, I will text you again. Shukran for today. Your bro signal was worth gold.
This is a screenshot from a WhatsApp group, and it shows that they were hanging Palestinian flags in areas to lure Israeli supporters in and then attack them.
Well, once again, let's apply the same logic to pro-Palestine peeps. When they go around and burn Israeli flags, that means I guess we can go around and hunt down Muslims. Even if you're going to say, yes, nobody should shout such slogans and nobody should tear down flags. Who has been doing that for the last whole year?
Right, so there's, I just had it. Right, so there's this quick one here I'm going to play, and then that'll be us for today, because I had a couple of days ago we planned to do this other, to guest on this stream. So Sweden, let's go to Sweden.
All reports are coming from across Europe, including, yes, Belgium. Orthodox Jews were being hunted down and targeted for absolutely no reason, simply because, as the Metropolitan Police in London will call them, visibly Jewish. They are visibly Jewish, so this is their fault, basically. And things have become completely out of hand because, again, these are Islamists on the streets of Amsterdam. Obviously, we discovered that this was days in advance. They also went outside the stadium before anything kicked off to intimidate the Jews. Of course, the Israelis in return decided to start anti-Palestinian chants and anti-Arab chants. Then, of course, as planned already, pre-planned, they started to target the Jews after the match around the city of Amsterdam. Now, last night, we had similar scenes, unfortunately, being witnessed in Sweden, but also Belgium. We're going to focus on Sweden first, and we're going to show you what we had to deal with, unfortunately. And these were the scenes where, again, in this situation, the Jews in Sweden actually decided to stand up to the bullies, but I think at this point it was a little bit too late. The police did intervene and did make a number of arrests. Let's go to the first video we have from Sweden.
Hon har förstört.
I'm going to fast forward to another bit. And then I've got to go, so apologies for that. But we'll come back another day, and we'll, this is kind of like where I'm going to go with this channel now. Is like look at like I said, interesting things that are happening in the world, around the world, you know, local, wherever else. Because I'm more like a world watcher, and so I'm, you know, we'll look at some cool stuff as well, not on depressing stuff or sad stuff. But if it happens, we'll be talking about that. But here's the thing, like blame, like where is it? This dude, he's just minding his own business, right?
Chickens are voting for KFC at this point. Now,
I like this statement. This is what I
forget that if you're gay, you will be hanged in the Islamic. Firstly, it's nice to see once again the Israeli flags being flown alongside the Iranian flags, the actual Iranian flags. Secondly, that was a very good point to be made about all these woke liberals supporting the Islamists. So that let's not forget that if you're gay, you will be hanged in the Islamic Republic of Iran. The Iranian regime and their puppets do not support the progressives in Europe. Why is it that the liberal progressives continue to support the Islamists? It's chickens voting for KFC at this point. Now, one other thing we have to discuss is about what happened in other places. Unfortunately, more reports are coming from across Europe, including, yes, Belgium. Orthodox Jews who have been hunted down and targeted for absolutely no reason, simply because, as the Metropolitan Police in London will call them, visibly Jewish. They are visibly Jewish, so this is their fault, basically. And things have become completely out of hand. Because again, these Orthodox Jews are not really Tel Aviv Maccabi football fans. They are just living their lives.
So that's it for me. The links in the chat. Please check out Tusi TV. Prophet. There's a whole bunch of links there. That's from the videos we showed, and also the rest of the parts that I didn't show. They're on there. You can check it out. I gotta go. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. All 78 of you guys. I'm sure most of you guys are. I'm not sure where you guys are from, but welcome to this channel going forward. I was away for 2 months, and I just had to figure out what I really want to do with the channel. So thank you for joining me. Wherever you are, be well, be safe. Hug and kiss you, and love your family. Show them that you care. And we'll catch you next time. Ka kite ano, from me to you. Peace be upon you, and all that stuff. Not in that way, but have a great day, man. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me on Plungecast. Catch ya.